YouTube. I'm here today at my kitchen table with a little bit of computer stuff. We have some various parts. Some of it is purchased new, some of it's purchased used, or I just had sitting around. And we've also got this Athena rack mount computer case. This computer is primarily just an extra box I have laying around that I use for testing audio equipment, but the problem I'm having with it is the motherboard and CPU and RAM in it is just simply too outdated. It's an E8400 running at 3.61 gigahertz, and it's really just a slug. And if I'm filming a video, there's already enough setbacks along the way. I don't want to be having to deal with computer frustrations. I just need something to work when I turn it on, and I think this hardware I have here is going to do the trick, so stay tuned. Alright, here's a look at the current setup inside this case. It's a Asus motherboard P5K PL AM SE with the Core 2 Duo E8400 overclocked 20% to 3.61 and a really crusty MSI GTX 430 video card. I think 4 gigs of Samsung DDR2 1066 memory. All this is going to be coming out. What's going to stay is the power supply, which is just an Antec Earth Watts 430 watts, I believe. Oh, 380 watts. My apologies. The optical drive will stay, and also there's an SSD mounted underneath the power supply that is going to stay. Here's the motherboard I'll be installing in this case today. It's a Gigabyte H370. Pretty nice board overall, full ATX form factor. Although it's not quite a true ATX, it is just a little bit short. The last 3 mounting holes will not reach in most cases, which is unfortunate but not a deal breaker. This board has very low hours. It's mostly just set in my back room because right after I got it I ended up upgrading to an ASRock Z390 motherboard so I could overclock my main rig. But I think this will be an excellent upgrade and very dependable and should alleviate any issues I'm having. I think most of the problems with the computer now are being caused by that Asus motherboard. I think the capacitors on it are suspect because it does exhibit sometimes flaky behavior. So this should take care of it. Also, just to mention, this Gigabyte motherboard does have a legacy PCI slot, which is going to be very helpful for my purposes. It gives me the flexibility to run M Audio Delta 44 66 sound cards if I choose. Although my goal for this build is to get this board working with a M Audio external USB sound card and Linux Mint 20. Alright, quick look at the rest of the parts going in this build. The processor is of course not an AMD Ryzen 7. It is in fact Pentium G5400. I purchased this processor used, and this is just the box it came with. It's got the stock Intel cooler with it. Should be more than enough muscle for a test computer. I got this RAM kit. It's 2x4 gig sticks. It was less than $30. This seller actually had less than 2 feedback on eBay. They had 1 positive feedback, so I was a little bit surprised that it did actually show up, and I'm still a little bit skeptical until the computer actually boots up and everything is golden. And the last thing I'll be adding to this computer is this Wi-Fi card, which is an Intel AX200 chip. It's just a laptop chip on a little riser card, but I do want to have wireless capability with this computer because I'll be deploying it in various locations. I don't really have a fixed studio in the house, I just kind of move around. So I think that'll be a nice addition to this computer. As you can see, disassembly became a little bit more involved than I expected. The power supply and drive cages had to come out to gain access to the front panel connections and also the mounting points for the motherboard. As unfortunately this case is a little bit more suited for micro ATX, I won't be able to use my PCI slot unfortunately because it's all the way over to the side. System basically put together now. All the wiring connections are made. The only thing not done is I haven't put that other rack gear on because I do want to make sure that everything works before I call this thing complete and fully button it down. Alright, I've got a keyboard and mouse connected, got the VGA cable connected. It's time to try and power this thing on. I'm sure it will not go that smoothly, but whatever happens, we'll catch it on video. Here goes, first power on test. It lives. Can we get video output? Yes. Fantastic. That just never seems to happen, especially when you try and do it on camera. And it looks like Linux Mint is already installed, so that actually saves me a little bit of time. Alright, I've got this computer working on updates now. Amazingly, that OKN brand wireless card, the advertised Linux compatibility was true. It was truly plug and play. I was instantly able to connect to my wireless network after I entered my password, so really pleased with that. I'm hoping that M-Audio Fast Track Pro sound card won't give me any trouble either. I know I've had problems. It works good with Elementary OS and Kubuntu and some other Linux versions, but it just does not work well with Mint in my experience in the past, although the Delta series cards work great. So if I can get that working, I will be very pleased at this point with this build, but really just tickled to death. The wireless was such a plug and play experience. This computer, although it doesn't have that many fans to begin with, it's still surprisingly quiet to me. Seems like these Intel stock coolers tend to make a little bit more noise. Maybe the later revisions are a little bit better. I do like the orange glow on this Gigabyte motherboard. Alright, I thought a good way to test this new computer would be to play some bass with it, test out this new speaker box I've constructed. These Rockford 10-inch subs are just dropped into the speaker holes, and they're not very heavy, so I'm going to have to try and hold them in the speaker box for this run. But we're just going to play a frequency sweep. I've got the little bamboo down there to see if we're getting a decent amount of airflow and a little plug of wood in front of it to hopefully keep it from flying off the table and disgruntling my wife. But we're gonna go ahead and try this out and see how impressive our results are and see how this box sounds. I'm not sure how well that's going to translate to video. That was pretty impressive in real life, but I think the bamboo might not be the best flex meter in the world. However, that box does seem to play pretty flat all the way through, and it seems to be tuned pretty low. That was really my first time actually listening to this enclosure. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for future audio and computer related builds.